Hello and welcome to this reflection on behalf of Portsmouth Cathedral. A key challenge for any Christian community today is to reflect deeply about the audience to whom we address our message. Throughout Christian history, there's been a tendency for the Church to talk to itself, to address its message primarily to those who are already inside the church community. Indeed, many of the New Testament texts, such as St. Paul's letters and the Gospels themselves, were primarily designed for reading publicly to the church community, gathered for prayer, rather than for the world at large. Clearly, there's nothing wrong with the church wishing to instruct itself in the faith and build itself up. But that cannot be the full extent of a Christian community's proclamation of the faith, unless it is to become quite sectarian and far removed from the rest of society. Talking to ourselves can become an easy option. Instead of tackling the world as it is, we end up working with a fantasy world in which things are as we would like them to be. The New Testament texts, although primarily addressed to the gathered church community, were often about how that community should relate to the outside world. Therefore, the idea of simply talking to ourselves is not a particularly faithful response to Jesus' commissioning of disciples and apostles. Paul spent most of his time as a missionary working with outsiders. He called into the church community Gentiles who had attached themselves to the synagogues in the cities across the empire, known in the synagogues as God-fearers, rather than addressing his mission primarily to those in Israel. The Gospel reading this Sunday is about more than a reminiscence about Jesus and the Gentile woman from Tyre. It is clear from Matthew's Gospel that his community thought they were initially called to go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But in this story that we hear today, and at the end of the Gospel, there is a recognition that Christ's death and resurrection are about good news for all people. As an inclusive cathedral community, there is a real challenge here to ensure that we do reach out to and include those who feel they are outsiders.